Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm Phillip. Let me start with a simple question. Have you ever felt tired of living? Not physically tired, but emotionally tired. Like you always have to perform well, achieve more, prove yourself, and get approval just to feel like you are enough. As if your value depends on your grade, your job title, your income, or how others see you. What if one day you didn't have to prove anything? What if you didn't need achievement or recognition to feel secure? What if just being yourself was already enough? Today, I want to explore that idea with you. Throughout history, there have been many successful people who didn't necessarily live at ease. Think about Princess Diana. She lived under constant public scrutiny and royal expectation. From the outside, she looked glamorous, but inside she struggled deeply, especially in her marriage and with intense emotional pressure. These figures share something in common: a strong sense of duty, very high standards for themselves, and very little permission to be vulnerable. They put their mission before their personal happiness. From the outside, they seem brilliant. On the inside, they carry loneliness and suppression. So, the question is, do we have to live like that? Today, I want to introduce a book called The Practice of Ease. You don't have to live up to others' expectations. The author is Japanese philosopher and counselor Ichiro Kishimi, who also co-authored The Courage to be Disliked. His work is deeply influenced by Alfred Adler, a sociologist whose ideas are both simple and revolutionary. Adler famously said, "It's not events themselves that disturb us, but the meaning we give to them." At first, that sounds almost too simple. But if you really understand it, it changes everything. It shifts the focus from what happens to you to how you interpret what happens, and that's powerful. Kishimi introduced a method called psychological tracing. It may sound technical, but it's actually very intuitive. It means going back to the source in order to understand the present. Many of our current anxieties, perfectionism, or people-pleasing tendency didn't appear out of nowhere. They were strategies we developed as children. As kids, we needed love, we needed attention, we needed safety, so we learned what worked. Maybe you were only praised when you got first place. Maybe your parents compare you with your siblings. Maybe your home environment was tense, so you learned to stay quiet and not cause trouble. Over time, these strategies became your life script, And here's the key question. That script may have helped you survive back then, but is it still serving you now? Why your childhood patterns continue into adulthood? There are three main psychological mechanisms at work. First, those patterns once work. If you discover that being perfect gets me love, your brain stores that as a success formula, and your brain love formula that seem to guarantee safety. So you carry that formula into your career, relationships, and adult life. Second, there's something called confirmation bias. Once you believe something about yourself, like I'm not good enough, your brain starts filtering reality through that belief. You ignore evidence that contradicts it, and you magnify evidence that supports it. So, if 10 people praise you and one criticize you, you will focus on the one negative comment. That reinforces your original belief. Third, there's neural pathway inertia. The more you repeat a certain response, the stronger the neural connection becomes. Like a path in a forest, walk it once is barely visible. Walk it 100 times, and it becomes a clear trail. When stress hits, your brain doesn't want to think too hard. It takes the familiar route. It goes on autopilot. So sometimes your anxiety today isn't because you are actually incapable. It's because you are using an old map to navigate a new road. Now, psychological tracing is not about blaming your parents or your past. It's about three important steps. The first is awareness. You begin to notice that your current pain may be coming from old patterns. You realize, oh, this reaction isn't random. It has a history. The second is loosening. You understand that your personality is not destiny. It's a strategy you learn, and if it was learned, it can be unlearned or reshaped. The third is reorientation. Since you learn those patterns once, you can learn new ones now. With practice and intention, you can choose different responses. Awareness, loosening, reorientation, these three steps are often at the heart of major personal transformation. Let's look at a concrete example. Michael Jordan. When he was in high school, he was cut from the varsity basketball team. He went home, locked himself in his room, and cried. Many people would have blamed the coach or the system, but later he said that was the first time he realized he wasn't as good as he thought he was. That's awareness. He didn't interpret the rejection as I'm worthless. Instead, he saw it as I'm not good enough yet, but I can improve. That's loosening. Then he made a choice. He woke up at 5 a.m. to practice. He trained longer and harder than others. That's reorientation. Even after entering the NBA, his journey wasn't smooth. In the early years, with the Chicago Bulls, he scored a lot of points but couldn't win championships. The Detroit Pistons repeatedly defeated his team. Once again, he faced a choice. He realized that scoring alone wasn't good enough to lead a team to victory. Under Coach Phil Jackson's system, he learned to trust teammates, to pass the ball, to manage his emotion, and to think beyond personal glory. Jordan once said, "I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." Failure wasn't an identity for him, it was data to adjust direction. Michael Jordan wasn't born invincible. His strength was not that he never failed. His strength was that he used failure as a doorway to reshape himself. He acknowledged pain. He refused to treat his current limit as permanent, and he chose discipline, practice, to rewrite his pattern. Maybe you are not a basketball player, but maybe you are afraid of making mistakes. Maybe you are afraid of disappointing others. Maybe you are worked very hard, yet you still feel like it's not enough. What if the problem isn't your ability? What if you are still living by a childhood strategy that once kept you safe but now keeps you anxious? If we don't allow the past to become the past, it quietly becomes our future. Today's episode is just part 1. In the next episode, we will go deeper into how to let go of the obsession with being special and how to shift from competition to contribution in the workplace. Because true ease doesn't come from defeating others. It comes from being secure enough not to compete all the time. If today's conversation resonated with you even a little, consider sharing it with a friend who works hard but still feel like they are not good enough. Let's practice living with more ease and with more happiness. I'm Phillip. I will see you next time. Wishing you peace and joy.